Joining us for more reaction is Mbiwa Mangwira Ntsanga from Sonke Justice, Gender Justice, apologies. Mbiwa, thank you so much for joining us this evening on News at Prime. You just heard the packages before from the President as well as the Minister in the Presidency, Dr. Dlamini Zuma. How is this new bill going to help end crimes committed against children and women in this country, realistically speaking?
Realistically speaking, this bill it was long overdue because the National the National Council was long overdue. It's an institution that should come and oversee the implementation of the National Strategic Plan on GBVF. So this is really important because it creates that institution that should provide the oversight in terms of holding institutions accountable to ensure that gender-based violence is eradicated, to ensure that they implement the laws and policies that address GBV in the manner that they should be, particularly the NSP. And it's also going to provide a coordination platform. Many a time, the initiatives that are addressing or seek to end gender-based violence have not been coordinated. They've been sporadic, happening at different points. But we're hoping that with this with this bill coming into law, the establishment of the council will enable or will create a platform for the coordination of efforts to address GBV in the country.
You know, you make mention that obviously this is quite long overdue also when we consider the stats when it comes to GBV in this country as well. Are you a bit skeptical about the timing of this bill as well, considering elections being just a few days away?
Yes, in as much as the bill came at a time when it's elections, like I have already said, it's long overdue. So we can never really say the timing is right or it's wrong. All we can say is that finally it has happened. It's been long overdue. We've been calling for the government to say, can you please pass the law to ensure that this council is established? So finally we are here, and that is what is important at this moment.
So more of a glass half full approach is what I'm getting from you as well, because some have questioned the timing of the signing of this GBV bill. Some NGOs also who work with helping victims of gender-based violence like yourself as well, who are facing their doors closing very soon, say they can't welcome this signing of this bill because they see it as electioneering, also considering that money's been taken away from them to be able to effectively do their work, which is helping those very victims.
I mean, certainly this could be argued that there is a point to be made in terms of this is election time, and this bill, we've been calling for it for a while now. The NSP came into existence, that is in 2020. We've been talking about when will we get the council established. So there is a place to make that argument. But all I'm saying at this point is, in as much as there's a place to make that argument, what we can say is finally it has been done. And we look forward to the council being established so that it can then start doing the work that it needs to do. But yes, there is a place for that argument, certainly.
I mean, Amnesty International South Africa also welcomed the bill, but said that the proof would be in the implementation. Would you agree with that as well?
Yes, certainly I agree with that, we can only see the effectiveness of the bill when it is implementation time. It will depend on how it's implemented. It will even depend on who sits on that council and how they implement the mandate that they are supposed to carry. So definitely, because we know we are a country that is often hailed for having so many progressive laws in place, but in spite of those progressive laws, we are battling with implementation. So we are not only going to just celebrate and say because the bill has finally come into law, then we are celebrating. No, there is still the issue of the implementation, which is where our hurdle mostly is. So we wait to see that. Certainly, that is something that we wait to see, and we can only tell when we see how the implementation is going, or when the time comes for us to assess the implementation.
And implementation mode seems to be not in the so near future, because there's still a process that needs to take place. Parliament still needs to appoint that 13 board member, hold those interviews as well in case there are any concerns about them as well. There could be a back and forth. So realistically speaking, for a victim who's watching this program right now at home, who's living perhaps with an abusive partner, the good news is not quite immediate.
Yes, certainly I agree with you. The good news is not quite immediate, because this is just the stepping stone in which we needed. What I can just say is it is a necessary and important stepping stone. Without this bill coming into law, we're not going to see this council established. But so it is important in that it then enables for the council to be established. However, like you are still saying, there's a whole process that still comes with the establishment, the appointment of the people who will sit on this council. So we still have a journey to go.
Looking at our criminal justice system, Biwa, do you think that just signing these bills into law, and perhaps also, yes, of course, appointing the board members and this council, will that be sufficient when we're looking at a criminal justice system that for many too often a time doesn't actually favor victims, and victims feel re-traumatized by the criminal justice system?
I think we started touching on it earlier when we talked about implementation, that when we look at our criminal justice system, there are a lot of implementation gaps that are in it. The laws alone are not enough. We have always been saying that, yes, the laws are important. They create a foundation upon which they create the framework and the premise for the implementation to take place. But we're always saying that the challenge comes when we talk about that implementation. Many a time the laws are not costed. There are no resources to fund those laws to ensure that implementation takes place. You get into the criminal justice system, we have challenges of secondary victimization and re-victimization of survivors. You find that we're dealing with personnel that is not trained to handle issues of gender-based violence, and then it reinforces the trauma and the victimization that people go through, that survivors go through. And also we have the challenge with the delays that are in the justice system itself, where it takes so long for cases to be heard, and that's if they even make it to trial, because in many cases in many instances a lot of cases are thrown out because of poor investigations, missing information, and so forth. So there's still really a lot that needs to be dealt with within the criminal justice system for us to get to a point where we can say we are dealing with a GBV effectively.
And before I let you go, just your reaction also to the second signing of that NPA amendment bill as well, in collaboration, in conjunction with this GBV bill as well.
I think, like you say, it was an important step, although, like we are saying, that there's a point that can be made in terms of the timing of the signing. But what's important is that we are here where the signing has been done.
That is important indeed. I like your glass half full approach at looking at this. And thank you so much for joining us this evening on a Friday night on News at Prime.